Deborah Cottle is not with us this evening in person, but she's with us via Zoom. So unfortunately, you have to hear me and this gavel. So I'd like to call the regular Board of Commissioners meeting of the City of Maysville to order. And I would invite Reverend Reese to give the invocation, please.
Shall we pray? Gracious Father, we humbly come before you, thanking you for your goodness and your mercy that you've displayed in so many ways. As we conduct this meeting, we do ask your blessings upon our endeavors. Father, we pray that your hand of protection be upon our city, our community, and the residents. Father, we thank you for each of these leaders. We thank you for their sacrifices and their commitments. And Father, we pray your great blessings upon them. And we ask these things in Christ's name. Amen.
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 Lisa, when you're ready, would you call the roll, please?
No.
Commissioner Brammer,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Cartmel,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Wood, Commissioner McKay,
Here.
Mayor Cotterill,
Yes, ma'am.
City Manager Wallingford,
Here.
City Attorney Cottle,
Here.
HR Director Rose,
Here.
Project Coordinator Horde,
Here.
Public Works Director Truesdale, Luke. Police Chief Palmer,
Here.
Fire Chief Doyle,
Here.
Utility Manager Julian,
Here.
Zoning Administrator Larger,
Here.
Building Inspector Fawcett,
Here.
Codes Officer Brooks,
Here.
Tourism Director Bailey,
Here.
Main Street Director Reese.
Here.
Okay, members, you've been presented with minutes of May 11th, 19th, and 25th meetings and department reports. If there are no additions or corrections or deletions, I entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Brammer,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Cartmel,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Wood,
Yes.
Commissioner McKay,
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Cotterill.
Yes.
Okay, at this time, if there are any public announcements, would be a good time to share.
Anybody up here? You guys have anything?
Wine fest this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, Uncorked this weekend. I believe you also have a boat this weekend.
Yep, we have Pickers and Grinners on Saturday from 10 to 6, and then you have Uncorked from 4 to 10, and then we also have the American Countess, which is part of the American Queen Voyages. They'll be in town tomorrow from 8 to 1 p.m., so everyone's welcome to come down. The president and CEO of the company will be on board, so we're welcoming them with the Liberty Cornet Band. Really excited to have them. And then there's also a softball tournament happening this weekend as well out at the Maysville Rec Park.
Yeah, 25th anniversary of the Morgan softball tournament out at the rec park. Really, really big tournament. Goes to a great cause.
Glad I asked. Next item is public comment.
Jerry King, I think, wants to talk.
Jerry, can you come forward a little bit so we can get you on the, just state your name for the record, just so we can get you on the mic.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
my name is Jerry King. I'm here to present a petition to the commission for the Forest Avenue Park up there in the name of my brother Paul King. I have a layout for all of you that are not familiar with him and tell you exactly what he's done for the city and people of Maysville. Do I do it now or later?
Mr. King, if you have that petition, if we could have that, and what I would be glad to do is make copies of that for the commission. And is that something you all want to think about and have a formal motion at another meeting, or how?
Probably,
Yeah.
yes.
Mr.
Next
King, I'd
time.
be glad to. Yes, anything you have, sir, I can make copies of that.
I made enough copies of these for
Okay,
people.
all right. Okay. Mr. King, I appreciate that. Is there anything else, sir? And I'll get this to the commission, and they will talk about it at the next meeting and see what they want to do.
Okay, could I speak a little bit?
Absolutely, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Paul had his own company here in Maysville.
Man,
Yes, ma'am.
have him come up.
Yeah, Mr. King, I'm sorry. Could you? Yeah, so that we can hear. Everybody can hear you.
Y'all have to excuse me, this is the first time.
You're okay. You're good. And sir, if you want to sit down, you're welcome to sit
I don't
down.
need to say
You
that.
don't
Okay.
have to be a pro.
Ma'am,
You don't have to be a pro.
good. So anyways, Paul's my younger brother. He come up with a company, a concrete company. And And when DP&L first started, Paul got a lot of the concrete work over there. And he got in good with those people. He got many, many people, young people here in Maysville, jobs over there. He formed his own company and moved around the country. He got in with the federal government. And when he died, he was in Nevada doing the concrete foundation for the windmills out there. He was been treated for heart attacks in Georgetown, Kentucky, or Ohio. And I took him to Colorado, where most of my family's at. Took him to a big medical facility out there, found out he had never had stroke. He had meningitis, and that's what he died from. But Paul would have been the first black millionaire in Maysville, or the only black millionaire in Maysville. I mean, he was making that kind of money. But he got sick, and we lost him through a misdiagnosis. But he was also a good athlete for Maysville High School. And I just think that by naming that Forest Avenue Park up there, and we grew up on that end of town, that would be something that we could kind of honor him in his name. So I appreciate anything and all your votes.
Thank you, Mr. King. Thank you, sir. I will get copies of all these, and I'll put them in your mailboxes for you.
Do you have a public comment? Anyone wishing to address the board? Discussion, summer quarterly cleanup dates.
It is that time of year again. Been talking to Luke a little bit about it. We're thinking about June 23rd through July 3rd, which would give folks the opportunity to get things cleaned up right before the 4th of July holiday. That's a Friday through a Monday. We typically do a 10-day period. Appliance drop-offs at Forest Avenue Police Station and Public Works. No tires, even though we'll get some. No tires. How are those dates with everybody?
June the 23rd
Through July 3rd, yes, ma'am. It's a Friday through a Monday.
You wouldn't want to leave them out over the holiday.
Whatever y'all want to do.
You wouldn't want to do that.
The only thing I would tell you, the only thing about that, Vic, is you have somebody come in, what, even on the weekends, on Saturdays and Sundays?
Maybe three or sometimes 3 times a day at least.
We could, Commissioner. The only thing I'd worry about is July 4th with them being the holiday, folks off, being over.
Go with July.
Yeah.
I got you.
Those dates good?
Yeah.
All right. Get with me and we'll get that advertised ASAP.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next item, 7, Main Street District Building Enhancement Uses.
I'll lead this off, and then I'm going to turn it over to Miss Caroline. We've been brainstorming for 6 months, a year maybe now, on some things we can do to. We have a great downtown. We have a
Yes,
wonderful
we do.
downtown. It's great. But we've got a few buildings, a few individuals that need a little nudging, for lack of a better term. So you want to kind of, you've been doing a lot more research on this than I have. You kind of want to fill them in on what's been going on
Right.
and be loud.
Right. Man, I've never been told that before. So what, as you well know, we do have an outstanding downtown. And as if we didn't know it, of course, now with both those big conferences that have just been here, everybody around the state knows it. And as wonderful as it is, I would often get the question, well, what sort of rules do you have in place? Or what sort of ordinances, or what can people do, cannot people do? Because you'll have a whole block of really great looking buildings. And then you all know we have our stragglers that are not only pulling the block down, we don't want the block to literally be pulled down by neglect of some of these buildings. And how it really kind of came up, and Matt knew about it, and we started talking about it again. The keynote speaker at the Kentucky Heritage Council was a guy that goes all around the United States helping revitalize small towns. And he put and I'm glad to say that the whole Cox Building ballroom was totally full, not just of Heritage Council people, because the conference was about ready to come to a close, but of interested citizens. And the first thing out of his mouth was, show of hands, who here is proud to have vacant buildings in their historic downtown? Well, of course, just like this would be, there were no hands that went up. Who would like to see something done to address the vacancies? And every hand went up. So it's not just the ones of us who work with the buildings, who see them all day, who have a passion for it. It's the citizens who wonder, why is that allowed to be that way? How long is it going to take? And what is it going to take to make this person do something with their building? And while it is private property, technically, we're not talking about some lady's yard on Central Avenue or a family's fence that somebody doesn't like on Bond Haven. Those private properties don't really have anything to do with whether somebody comes to Maysville and then comes back to Maysville. It's those 4 blocks down there. While private, it kind of belongs to all of us. And so what is it that we can do about it? Because I don't have to tell you, those buildings are not only our heritage and our history from the past, but they are our key to the future and our key to being relevant and our key to getting people to come to this town, stay in this town, whether to live or to visit. So something has kind of got to be done to tip the scales and figure out what we can do for some of these either stubborn or out-of-town property owners to do something to maintain at a minimum at their buildings. I made these out for you. If you were to take a stroll, some of you do walk downtown all the time, some don't. This is what you see. Again, we have a lot of great properties, if you wouldn't mind giving that to Victor. But that is what people see when they look through the windows. And you can see on the first page here, or for you all that don't have this handout, one of the photos was taken in 2018 and the next one was in 2023. That's 7 years of that window being out. 5 years, 5. Well, I'm a speaker. I'm visual, not a math person. But anyway, as you can see, as you thumb through there, okay, 5 years. That's a long time for something to stay in that sort of shape without anything. And it's not just the support of your constituents that I know you have. The people that own these properties will be upset, and their friend group will be upset. And you might lose 10, 20 votes because they and their friends are upset. But I'm telling you, you're going to gain 200 because your citizens are going to say, finally, something's being done with that property. We have some support from here, people from the Historical Society. We've got people from the Main Street Board, and we have people that have done tremendous jobs that know what it's like to have to take on one of those buildings with the Lee House. And I think they all think the same thing, that it's just kind of time to act and come up with a plan that is not too intrusive, but that keeps our downtown thriving and not let the cart get away with the horse.
So you and I
Right?
and George and Nicole sat down last week.
Right.
And discussed all this. Do you want to kind of let the commission know, what we're thinking?
Yes. So it was in our board, as they know, we talk about it all the time because people come up to us all the time. Part of the Main Street mantra is preservation. And so we get asked all the time about it. Well, why is that like that? Or why is that allowed to be like that? Or isn't there anything you can do about that? And so I think it was Fran actually that's sitting here. She says, well, before we get into maybe making new rules, let's look at the rules that are already in existence. So Nicole and George and Matt and I met and went through our ordinances to see what was really already there, maybe not as strict as far as making somebody do something about it, or as strict as financially. Maybe the fine should be a little bit higher if you don't. It's already on our books to paint your building. There shouldn't be chipping paint, there shouldn't be weeds. You know, we can't have the windows looking like that. I mean, that's already there. Maybe get back into enforcing that a little bit more. And then another idea that I found from the conference that I went to in North Carolina, every small town, don't think it's just us, every small town has the same problem. And it's just different people tackle it in different ways. This town in North Carolina, they said, okay, I give up. Your building is vacant, we can't make you sell it. If it's gonna be vacant, it can't look vacant. So they passed a set of rules that you cannot have chip paint. You can't have bricks that are, falling, the mortar that's coming down, boarded up windows. Not only you can't have boarded up windows, it has to look pleasant as you walk by. You have to have some sort of scape in there or something that it doesn't scream, the owner's not been in town for 5 years. And so that's what is an idea to go along with what we have on the books already. And then another thing we get to is usage. That's on there. You know, a lot of our buildings are being used for storage. And you know that. I mean, they'll buy a building that's cheap and then just end up using it for storage. And I don't think that's what any of us want either, have storage facilities downtown. This town said, no, absolutely no storage in the downtown. And so we thought, if that sounds a little too harsh, that we could say, okay, you can have storage, but you just can't have it on the first floor. So we want people to look inviting, and then maybe somebody that wants a business can look in and think, I could maybe handle that. I could maybe lease that, rather than looking in that window and go, that's just too much work, I never want to have it. I can't do anything about that. So, I mean, they're the jewel in our crown. And once they're gone, we're not allowed to inspect them, except for once a year because of fire. And that gets to a point where instead of a window kind of out because of a storm, if they haven't been maintained, then all of a sudden you're worried about them falling down on the sidewalk and really hurting somebody. I mean, I don't know why something has to become a public health hazard in order to make somebody do something about it. Another thing we mentioned was if you are not a resident of Mason County,
Yes.
these, out-of-town owners that don't care, it's just a tax write-off for them, that you have to have a local property manager in order, so somebody can call them if there's something going wrong, if things don't look good, that we could have actually somebody to contact.
And notice would be posted on
Right,
the door or whatever of,
right. This is the manager, this is how we would go about getting in touch with somebody to fix a problem when it's just a problem, or it's just an eyesore, before it becomes a catastrophe. If any of my, like I say, colleagues that are sort of that way have anything to say as well, if that's okay, feel free.
or I'll come, if you don't mind, so we can get you, state your name.
My name is Orloff Miller. I'm recently retired as staff with the Kentucky Heritage Council. One of my jobs was to write the current preservation plan for the state of Kentucky. In preparation for that, we did a statewide survey. And you'll be happy to know that out of 120 counties, we got the rate of responses. Mason County came in third behind Louisville and Lexington.
Good, that's great.
We know how Mason County people feel about historic preservation. They're running about 4% against and 96% in favor. And when we start talking about what are the problems that we face in conducting historic preservation, the single biggest thing anybody ever notes is demolition by neglect. Now, the state plan, which you can get online through the Kentucky Heritage Council, cites a study that was done in Philadelphia. It wasn't an historic preservation study, it was a study in public health. And they determined that a single vacant building on a block led to an increase in crime and a decrease in public health. And a single restoration on a city block led to a decrease in crime and an increase in public health. And when you had more numbers, say 3 instead of 1, abandoned building, then the results were exponential, they weren't linear. So you end up with 3 times the problem that you had before, rather than a single. So it's sending a powerful message to anybody who walks down the street to even see a single building that is vacant. And it's important that we maintain vigilance in dealing with that. Now, here's the rub. You are already a local design review district, a local overlay district. Every landowner in the district is aware that part of their responsibilities as a landowner is contributing to the public good by following design review guidelines, and that's George Larger's job. So you've done the heavy lifting. All those landowners are aware of their responsibilities. What is being proposed here, I believe, if I understand it correctly, is called enforced maintenance, an enforced maintenance ordinance. And there is a large body of work out there in the legal profession on how these sorts of laws are supposed to work. You can look them up. You can pick and choose from other cities on how to enforce it. It will mean a little more work for your codes enforcement people. So let's be realistic, that would be an issue if you try to implement something like this. But you'd only be dealing with about a 4% ratio of citizens against it. Now, that's a vocal 4%. They were very vocal in the survey. They're out there. But there's 96% of people who would be for something like this. And we know that with hard facts from surveying Mason County people. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Orloff.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Did you have a question?
Yeah. What
Yeah.
about our abandoned vacant?
Yeah.
I would like to
Property.
speak on that if you wouldn't
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
That was also brought up in discussion as well
Come
because
up here. So we hear you.
honestly, I mean, we understand this, you know, looking at our downtown, a majority of downtown is really well maintained. It really is. It's just a very small margin. We have implemented the abandoned property taxes on these properties that I know that are coming up in discussion, which have been a huge plight. They're paying them. They are not even fighting me on the higher tax that we have, and they are paying them. So we are really kind of getting to a point now, obviously, in my line of work, I'm not gonna demo anything downtown. I'm not gonna condemn anything downtown until it becomes a danger. And with all these row houses, you know, it just kind of sticks together and puts us in a hard spot. Legal issues, how many times have we taken properties into the court to try to get them to help me do something? It doesn't work, does it? No, it goes nowhere. I have properties I've been dealing with for a year and a half, maybe, and still nothing happening. So we talked about raising fines, you know, getting maybe a big enough fine citation that's worth filing a lien, force a sale. You know, I don't know. It's kind of like, it's up in the air. As far as the exterior goes, we do cover that under our property maintenance code, but we do not enforce anything inside. You know, visually what you see, what the appearance is with what's in there per se. You know, we've talked about, George has worked with windows out of state country owners, so hard to find to do it. You know, if we were to go in and use our money and invest it to fix these properties, you know, is that what we want to do? You know, so, and file liens against it in lieu of that. You know, we have some options, but it's just kind of figuring out what is it that we can do, because if we're going to be raising a heavy fist, we're going to have something, you know, to answer back with and follow through. Because paperwork and these little tiny fines are not going to catch their attention.
So is that what you want to raise funds?
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit with
That's
raising
one
it fines.
one
What are the
suggestion.
funds now?
Oh, was it
What was it? What did I say? 100?
250 and 500, I think.
I don't think it's that high. I think
I don't even think it's that
I think it's
high.
100, 150, and
Yeah, and I
250
was just
is
like-
the max.
It cost me $7 just to mail it. So, you know, it's just like they're not
And
catching
to
attention.
follow up on what Nicole said, you know, we do have, I think what you might have been alluding to, a vacant property registration ordinance as well.
Right.
But all that requires you to do is just register the property.
Right.
I think what Caroline's getting
I
into
love this idea too.
is
posting it.
playing off that and improving that, putting a little more bite into it, a little more teeth into that ordinance.
Yes.
Make it just a little more uncomfortable to let your building sit untouched for 5 years, 7 years, 10
Well, be
years.
accessible. Have somebody that can be accessible to it. You know, a lot of times with court, we have to serve somebody. We have to get somebody in there. So at least if we have somebody or some point of contact, I mean, emergencies, like when windows blow out, you know, it's kind of like one of those things. If you have a window on your house, you're not going to fix it till it breaks. You know,
Are all these people out of town? I know one.
No,
no,
There are
not
a couple of them are.
exactly. No.
A couple of them are.
Yeah, a couple of them are, but I mean, like I said, I think this is a great thing. You know, we are trying to work together. It's not anything that like any of us are not trying to do. We have to work within our legal boundaries as well. You know, they are property owners. You know, we can't overstep and take. So I am all ears on suggestions on what else to do, but we have really exercised everything that we have on the books, ordinance and codes
Are
wise.
they paying the $100 fine for the not replacing the windows or not?
Well, the one
The
that,
plywood and things in the windows.
that's the one that
That's
George's,
George's.
she's referring to
Yeah,
about the individual being either, what we were told was, this individual has to be properly identified before we can take him to court. George has been trying on that, what, 6 months at least? I'm sorry. He lives here.
I've been trying since
He's-
last year.
yeah,
Yeah, but he spends part of the time out of the country.
out of the country.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
And he was trapped overseas when
I know who
COVID
you're
started.
talking about. He's got property in the west end of town too.
Yes, I believe you're right.
Oh, no, I am right.
So I think what we'd like to look at is first floor storage. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
building downtown that looks like a Crenshaw swap meet inside. I mean, it looks awful. It looks terrible. And nobody's using it as a business. They're not selling anything out of it. It's personal storage. Having a local individual for these out of town buildings that are, and we're just talking the Main Street district. Having a local property manager, so that if Caroline or Nicole or George does have a problem, instead of trying to find somebody in Aruba, they've got somebody local they can deal with. What else am I leaving out?
The minimum maintenance,
And then going back to what you said about at least making it look like it's not vacant. And we don't have to reinvent the wheel. These ordinances are out there, and we'd be glad to pull some stuff together and have further discussion on it. Have something for you all to look at and give us feedback on what you think.
Right, but if, we have to have support. I mean, we can spin our wheels as long as we want to, but when it comes down to it, we need something, as Nicole said, with teeth in it, and that takes
Ordinance changes.
ordinance changes, and that's support from you all.
Well, put
Thoughts?
some stuff together.
Yeah.
Bring it
Put it
back.
together, let's do it.
Can't wait another 10 years or you will be falling. They
Yeah.
will be falling.
That's the thing, that if you wait too long, and, well, you know, you've seen them, I mean, look at the Bodmer Hotel in Ripley, you know, it takes the whole, one goes down and they're all connected. Water, a roof bad here, you know, talk to the McRoberts, they had a roof bad and it would get into their store, and, you know, it's just, they're so tightly knit, and it would, you know, as nice as pocket parks are, when you go to a town that has a lot of pocket parks with the lights and all, it's because the building is falling down.
Yeah, exactly.
And
So-
they're irreplaceable, as you well know.
Why don't we take what we have on the books, particularly our vacant property registration, some things we have on the book, and tweak those a little bit. And get with Kelly, and we can come up with, a suggested ordinance change. Let's have it back on the agenda in July and discuss it, and see if you want to move forward with the first reading after that.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Okay, thank you.
To you all who
Appreciate
came,
the time.
we really appreciate your time and effort coming here and supporting us. Thank you, and all that you all have done and contributed to downtown, everybody.
Item 8, discussion, traffic control on East Second Street.
when did we talk? Last week or earlier in the week, you and I had a discussion about loud vehicles and this and that, and then we got on talking about East Second Street. So Chief Palmer and I took a ride, a couple days ago? We took a ride down there, and I live there, your sister lives there, you live there, the mayor lives there. You've heard from individuals who live down there, you used to live there, or maybe others. Cars drive really fast. They drive really fast.
We've been talking about this for 3 or 4 years, about
Yeah.
mirrors and traffic.
Well, there you go. What I'd like to recommend to you all is to mimic what's up on Forest Avenue. Stop signs at Lexington Street, Wood Street, Union Street, and Main Street. Now, we can't do that because we don't own the street. But if you all are supportive of something like that, I'd be more than happy to petition District 9 to see if they would be willing to do some kind of traffic control. Thoughts?
Yeah. We've been talking about
We have.
Somebody's going to get killed.
Yeah.
Those are-
And you've had some accidents down there.
Can't see. And I
Union,
thought mirrors were.
Union and Wood Street are the two worst.
You know
Yeah.
that too.
And we have had accidents both at Union and Wood. I just pulled a quick last night. I think we had 3 or 4 since the beginning of this year in that area. And then last year, I think I had maybe 6. I didn't get to review them 100%, but I pulled
Well,
them.
there was a car that went through from Wood Street, wasn't it, to, in a lady's house on Second.
That's when I was
But
at.
even, you know, irregardless, as far as pulling out, Union and Wood, or Union and Second and Wood and Second, and again, I spoke to some folks that live in that area and just, you know, they said they've talked about it in the past. I said, well, I'll ask again, I don't care. I'll just be told as no. And so I brought it to Matt, and I said, look, you know, he's got a good point. We just, you know, he was standing there while we were working a motorcycle accident with injuries right in front of his house from a turn on from Union to Second Street. So, and you know as well as I do, if somebody's on the west side of town, they want to meet the east side of town, they're gonna go Second Street because there is no stop signs. And we monitored for speed, and, you know, standing on the sidewalk, 35 miles an hour looks like it's 55 miles an hour.
Right.
You know, we put the speed signs up, we monitored for speeds, you know, we're out there checking it, but, you know, I think stop signs might be a good idea. I'm sorry.
Let's try it. Can we put some new streets on West Second so I can get some stop signs down there?
Amen.
We'll have to take some houses down.
Well, with your blessing, I'd like to petition and work with the highway department to see what, you know, if that's an option.
Yeah,
You're on board.
I think we're all for that. I am.
Well, I'm a little less in favor of it than maybe you guys, and I'm not against slowing people down, because my kid just rode his bike down there last night and said somebody was probably going 75 miles an hour, and they were about 3 feet away from him.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I saw it.
you saw my kid or the driver?
Both.
And so, you know, biking's a dangerous sport, but it shouldn't be that dangerous, especially not in city limits like that. So I would like to see something done, but number one, I'd like to hold the residents down there at some point, and maybe not the first week that we look into this, but I would like to ask them what they think, you know, the best solution is. But I think that we should encourage them also to go on Forest Avenue. So I would suggest, in addition to some changes on Second Street, could we also decrease the number of stop signs on Forest Avenue, which is some residential, but not nearly, you know, it's not 100% residential like East Second is. So, for instance, on, you know, the Forest and Union, where you hardly ever see anybody pulling out of there, and the visibility is really good. I don't think they have to have a stop sign there, you know. I'm not sure you have to.
What do you think about that curve, though?
It's a blind right-hand turn right there by, and Matt talked to me about the same thing. You know, you have stop signs at Union and Forest Avenue. You have a new store right there, you know, Lexington and Forest Avenue. You have a restaurant that's closed down, but it's a restaurant there. You got a new restaurant at Wood Street and Forest Avenue. You know, I just think that, you know, the one you're referring to at Forest Avenue and Union, you're coming up, you're stopping, and I run Forest Avenue. I'll run downtown, you'll see me in the afternoon. But it's a blind right. It's not a bad curve, and it is pretty visual. But you got a new warehouse getting ready to pop up right there next to Parker's. So you're gonna have a lot more traffic coming in and out of there right there at Forest Avenue and Union Street. So you're gonna have semis coming in and out where they're putting that new warehouse there where Parker redryer was. So that's something to think about too. But the stop signs on Forest Avenue, you have one at Main Street, you have one at Clark Street, which is a speedway, Wood Street, and Union Street. So, and then Lexington Street.
Yeah.
And all of them now, you have a restaurants on a couple of them, and you also have a gas station. So it's definitely something to look into. And I really, honestly, until just talking to you, forgot about the warehouse that's going in there. But there's going to be big trucks coming in and out of that warehouse.
Well, I mean, at certain times when there's a disaster, certainly there's 24/7. But most of the time, if you look at that intersection, I don't see anybody pulling out of there. So I mean, I'm all for some, helping Second Street. They've needed it for years, but I also think you can do some encouragement by making Forest Avenue a little bit faster. Maybe it's with a stoplight that has, a magnet trigger on it instead of just an automatic timing thing, or maybe it's removing 2 stop signs instead of all of them. But I think a little bit of a stick approach on East Second, but a little bit of a carrot approach on Forest Avenue to just make it a little bit faster to go down through there.
Quicker, not faster, quicker.
We put stop signs on Jersey Ridge, and I would say that, and there were some rumble strips, and I think we did 3 things on Jersey Ridge maybe. And, it turned out that the rumble strips were too far, so we paved over those so it didn't make so much noise for the neighbors. And I don't know why I'm saying all that, except that people still speed on Jersey Ridge. It's not a perfect solution, and we can put stop signs on every block on Second Street, but there's still gonna be idiots who feel like, they want to test to see how good they're picking.
So I kind of need a consensus on what you want me to
Well,
negotiate
I'm okay
with.
Second Street, but I'm also okay with Forest Avenue with the stop signs, because I just figured.
The way they are now, or taking.
I am the way they are now,
Okay.
no disrespect to Andrew, but I just know that I'm gonna hit them going up through there. So I think it just keeps traffic slower than, I'd like to see it slower on my end of town, and I can't get it, so I'm just telling you.
At least looking,
Yeah.
yellow paint systems, yellow paint on the curb.
Yeah,
No. And you got kids getting ready to do that again, don't you?
We
Okay.
painted those, it's been.
they still park there, right?
They can't be there 24/7.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
I'm saying, I'm okay.
What you may be looking at is a small-scale traffic study.
And the
Yeah.
chances are that's what the District 9 is gonna, they're gonna do.
Rubber hoses and
Yeah.
block people, see how fast they're going.
I like all the people who work over there, great people, but there's a little more bureaucracy involved with them, and so they may require a traffic study, but at least let me poll them and
Yeah.
see what they say and see what we can get out of them, and I'll report back to you when I get some information.
Man,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
live across the street from you.
Yes, ma'am.
And I sat out on my porch last night, and I've mentioned this to Michael Palmer a couple of times. There was motorcycles and cars running up Second Street last night, and they were running 60 and 70 miles an hour. And we don't have a lot of kids up there now, but I mean, if I have to go across the street, I wait and make sure that there's nobody coming from Lexington Street or clear down past Hardman's, because they're just flying. And people on those motorcycles, not the regular motorcycles, but the other ones, the real loud ones, they fly. And last night, there was almost 2 wrecks, because somebody pulled out of Poplar Street, and a motorcycle was flying up through there, and if there'd been somebody else coming, the car that was pulling out would have hit the motorcycle if they hadn't been able to get over. And I mean, it's been there. I've lived on that street since I was 9 years old, and it's just like a racetrack. And my father used to own the bar that was on the corner of Union Street and Forest Avenue, and I agree with Michael. People go up through there all the time, and if you take that stop sign out, he may as well just send a policeman up there to monitor wrecks.
Okay. I'll talk to District 9 and Rebecca.
Just one thing I was thinking about is a street that I go down in Cincinnati that has great big, they're gentle speed bumps. But I mean, you hit it, you know it. I mean, once you've gone down the street, you know it's just a thought.
Well, and that is something that Flemingsburg might recommend, because it's, you know, they would be the ones to implement that.
Well, just a thought.
Sure,
Something
sure.
else to look at.
I will talk to them and I'll come back to you. Okay?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Is it illegal to have those traffic cameras?
There are some stipulations in the state of Kentucky, and I believe I have talked to the county attorney about that, because we looked at cameras on the Simon Kenton Bridge for overweight vehicles. But I can ask about that, sir.
I work at the worst intersection in this city. A 2nd Street, a 3rd Street. Every single day, I sit there and count the vehicles that run those stop signs. Today, I was there 8 hours. I counted 42 vehicles.
Wow.
That run up stop signs. That's every day. They will come up through there, make U-turns right there in the intersection while other people are trying to pull out. I'm telling you, it's crazy.
I'll ask him. I'll ask the highway department.
If they could put a camera on that daggone corner, it would pay for the cameras within a month.
I will look into that, sir.
It's horrible. They don't do any other city, I don't know why they can't do that.
I think so, yes, sir.
Okay, item 9, discussion, Maysville Tank and Kentucky 324 pump station projects.
Mark, I'll let you and David handle this one if you want to come up here.
So we have a drinking water tank, 150,000 gallon drinking water tank on Kentucky 324 that supplies the southern portion of Mason County. It was built in 1992. We put out sealed bids during the month of May, and we got a low bid of $263,700. We contacted the low bidder for references. I've got them a good folder here. They all checked out. They've done similar scale projects across Kentucky and multiple states. I have excellent references for every project they've done, and like I said before, they've done bigger projects than this. So that's the first portion, is the tank rehab.
What we need to add in there is we only have $175,000 budgeted
Thank you.
for that project, so you're looking at an overage of almost $100,000.
Yes, in my capital budget request, which we haven't had the first reading on,
Right.
we had asked for $175,000, and the lowest bid was $263,700. So yes, it is almost $100,000 over. So that's something important to consider. But this tank needs, I wouldn't say structural repairs, but it at least needs to be
Containment repair.
containment repair, sandblasted, recoated inside and out. That's not just to protect the longevity of the tank structure, but to also improve the drinking water quality for the residents and customers we have in southern Mason County, southern part of our system. I have a quote from a contractor to do a dive. Sometimes we dive. We have divers that clean out our intakes in the river. They'll clean out the reservoir or our clear well, which is where our finished water comes out of the water treatment plant before it's pumped out into distribution. But I figure saving $14,000 and just trying to put that towards that overage, and that's why we haven't tried to go that route with that. So that's the first part of the discussion, is the tank. Is there any questions? Matt, you want me to move on to the pump station project? So what supplies that tank? I kind of alluded to this before. Water comes out Kentucky 11, Fleming Road Pump Station, heads south towards Flemingburg. It hits Kentucky 324, and it goes towards a pump station. That pump station rehab project was bid out August of 22. Through supply chain delays, we finally got it in. We were trying to do this as emergency maintenance. We had a big outage last May, so 13 months ago, that put a large portion of Mason County, southern Mason County, out of water for 1,200 people or something like that. They were out of water for a week because that pump station failed. We replaced those pumps in there, but the entire station needs to be replaced. We put rebuilt pumps in, but we need to fill it in. And we put it in towards the Division of Water. We made an application and said, hey, we're doing maintenance on this. But because they said, they asked more questions, they said, well, are you upgrading capacity? Are you trying to improve reliability? And that is the case. We're putting it above grade. It's no longer going to be in a vault. You're not going to have to worry about the rust and things blowing apart or replacing the whole thing. They said you need a full construction application. That requires a professional engineering approval. The contractor that won the bid for $220,000 does not have a PE. So therefore, we wanted to discuss with the commission about, since that project's a $220,000 project, and the USDA R&D fee curve, what an engineer would charge to do the plan approval would be about $18,000 to $26,000. We've negotiated with HMB, who we have an on-call agreement with for engineering, to do the engineering approval for $8,000. So I just wanted to present that information to you all, and we can discuss it. I can answer questions, get info, whatever you need us to do.
And we need to, I mean, Mark's doing a good job negotiating that. We need to do a change order on that because we've got to do that project for $8,000 to have those plans approved.
It will go nowhere.
Anything you want to add?
No, I mean, are you gonna go ahead and try to act on it? Need to go on and act on it?
Yeah, Kelly has if you all are willing, we need to do this.
Is that in our budget?
That 8,000?
Yeah.
No.
No, that was an emergency that came about in May of 22. So we
did not have it in there for this current fiscal year. No. We've got to, yeah, it is.
And the reason for the increase in that tank, if I'm correct, we didn't add all of that. We decided when we had the tank down, we would go ahead and paint it and do everything at once.
I forgot about that, David, yeah.
It was repair, and it was cleaning, and it was some other things that we were gonna do to the tank, but we decided in the budget that we were gonna go ahead and
Bid
paint
for
it,
the entire thing.
and it'd be the whole thing, because it's gonna have to be done anyway now, and that's why that's significantly more.
I don't think this is something we can kick down the road again. I mean, we need a motion.
I have a resolution.
Okay.
Okay, I'll read this, and then y'all can vote. A resolution authorizing contract with HMB engineers for design fee for the Maysville Booster Pump Station rehab. Be it resolved by the City of Maysville, Kentucky, that the mayor is hereby authorized and directed to execute a contract with HMB engineers for the design fee for the plan approval and submission of the application to the Kentucky Division of Water in the amount of $8,000.
I'll make that motion.
A second.
Call roll, please.
Commissioner Brammer?
I guess, yes, but I like a copy of that resolution.
Commissioner
I didn't have it
Cartwell?
today.
Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
Commissioner McKay?
Yes,
Say,
Mayor Cottrell?
Yes.
Yeah.
would you make sure that we get?
Sure, absolutely.
That was an add-on. I just
Yeah.
was asking.
Is there any way regarding the tank, the overages on the tank? I mean, could you chase down some other contractors and saying, you know, they're killing us, or go back to the contractor that gave the high bid and say, look, you know, this is what we got in the budget. If you wanna match that, I won't go find other people, but.
Well, that was the low bid, and I mean, 263,700 was the low bid. The high bid was $520,600. And the way we structured that sealed bid, solicitation was, we can take off things, but again, I think that we're getting back to what Commissioner McKay was saying. If we nip this too much, this is our drinking water. This is fire protection. In my opinion, it's just not a.
I'm not saying we don't do the project. I'm saying that we go back to the.
Negotiate.
bidders and negotiate more and say, look, you know, this is what we have in the budget. We're perfectly happy with this. Or solicit other bids from other contractors. You know, maybe there's 5 more in the western part of the state who might want to bid on it.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk to David first, but if you let somebody know how much money you have, then they'll only do that much work. Would there be concern of them scaling back when we're not there looking?
Yeah.
Well,
And I think if you go to, well, go ahead, sorry.
The problem with this, and it being so expensive, or more expensive than what was anticipated, was, again, we added on going ahead and painting the inside of the tank, the outside of the tank, and they have to strip the paint, because this tank, as long as it's been out there, has never been painted.
1992.
92.
30 years.
30 years ago.
That's, and I really, Andrew, I don't know that you're gonna get,
So you're saying we had 175,000 in the budget and it came
But
in
it-
at
that was-
263,700.
yes, that was cleaning, patching, there was some work on the outside of it, metal work that needed to be done. But we decided, we thought that this was a good time, since we were doing all this, to go ahead and put the painting part in. Paint the inside, because once he got in and did the work, the dive, he did some temporary work this winter. There was more bad spots.
Corrosion spots, I mean, that need to
That
be
need to be
addressed, or the
taken
tank
care of.
will leak. Literally, when it was freezing temperatures, there was, water falling on the road or cars going by, so ice on vehicles,
Okay, let's,
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Are you in favor of that?
Yes, I voted yes.
No, we
Yeah.
have voted.
We haven't brought the tank bids to you. No,
Okay,
for
so we don't
approval.
have-
No, you don't have, no, ma'am. We haven't brought those to you yet, no, ma'am. That's just for the change order on the pump station, for the engineering.
The pump station needs to be done before we take the tank out of service. And
Right.
Absolutely, I mean,
That's why that's.
Okay, thank you. Okay, 9A, which isn't on the agenda.
Commissioner, I got a quick one, and Mayor and Commissioners to add, and Chief Palmer and I have been talking about this for this week, and I'll let him let you know what's going on.
I am asking you, and nothing major, and I will be quick, I promise. I promise you I'll be quick. I was approved last year budget to order 3 cars. We made an order for 3 vehicles from our local Dodge dealer last September. I met with them Monday. These cars have not even been manufactured yet. So I said, that's unacceptable, and I closed that order. I'm asking you to allow me to go purchase a used vehicle, 3 used vehicles to make up for what I've got.
And if Mike will refresh me if I'm wrong, but correct me if I'm wrong, you had roughly $120,000 in there. That was outfitting and everything.
That was outfitting and everything, and what we're looking at now is 3 that at least have consoles, sirens and stuff like that, so it could be a little bit cheaper.
already fixed up, yeah.
All right, and I'm not a big advocate for that, but we're gonna try to stay within 50,000 miles on each vehicle. I talked to them and because we want to stay local. We want to shop local. I've got 2 of my cars in his garage right now. What I'm looking for next year will probably be order for him, and it's a little bit, it should be no problem. But as I met with him on Monday, I was like, I'm not upset, no hard feelings, but I cannot wait for a car to start manufacture August and not get the thing to November. That's unacceptable. So I said, what do you need to cancel the order? He did. We canceled the order. We're good to go. I'm just asking if I can redirect that to purchase
Do you need
3.
a motion for that?
No, it's just redirecting the money. The money's there.
The money's there,
Yeah.
you're just using it different.
It's already been approved.
Yeah, it's already been approved, right?
Yes.
I'm okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Item 10, reappointment of Karen Heller to the Mayor Mason County Arts Commission, term to expire June 30th, 2027.
So move.
Second?
All roll please.
Commissioner Brammer?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Cartwell?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
Commissioner McKay?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Cottrell?
Yes, ma'am.
Item 11, resolution authorizing audit engagement letter with Baldwin CPAs, PLLC, 23-32.
A resolution authorizing audit engagement letter with Baldwin CPAs, PLLC. Be it resolved by the City of Maysville, Kentucky, that the mayor is hereby authorized and directed to sign the audit engagement letter with Baldwin CPAs, PLLC.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Call roll please.
Commissioner Brammer?
Yes.
Commissioner Cartwell?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
Commissioner McKay?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Cottrell?
Item 12, resolution awarding contract with purchase of fuel for fiscal year 2024, 23-33.
Resolution awarding contract for purchase of fuel for fiscal year 2024. Whereas the city of Maysville, Kentucky advertised for bids in accordance with plans and specifications as follows. A, subject fuel purchase for fiscal year 2024, advertised on May 3rd, 2023, bid opening on May 24th, 2023. Whereas the following bid was the only bid received, Valor Oil at $0.0250 margin above Covington, Kentucky rack price. Whereas the Public Works Director recommends the acceptance of the only bid as the best bid, now therefore be it resolved by the City of Maysville, Kentucky as follows. 1, the bid of Valor Oil for the subject contract described above is hereby accepted on behalf of the City of Maysville. 2, the mayor is hereby authorized and directed forthwith to execute all contractual documents necessary or appropriate to effectuate acceptance of said bid and to consummate the contract on behalf of the City of Maysville.
I don't understand how you just go on good.
You all talked to Hudson, correct? And they weren't serving, no, they weren't serving this area. Even though they did, in my email that I sent you guys, they did bid at the Buffalo Trace Road Commission, but they didn't provide a bid for us. And Valor, we've had Valor for I think 3 years now. Their price stayed the same. Their price stayed exactly the same as last year. There's no increase on their margin above rack.
Can we just have automatic delivery?
It's as you all need it, they deliver a large truck, yeah.
What are you doing in case of emergency if you run out?
Well, we monitor it.
Okay.
We monitor it, yeah. There's a gauge on there.
So it's not just automatic, you monitor it
Yes.
and call.
No, they've got the telemetry on that.
Yeah, that's what I mean, David. Yes, that's what, yeah. We know how much is in there. Thank you.
It's also got gauges on the tank. Check.
Is there a motion to accept this?
So moved.
Second, but I wanna ask one more
Sure.
question. Can we pre-buy fuel for the winter? Can you pre-buy it now?
Fuel,
Yeah,
there'd be nowhere to store it.
will they give you a price is what I'm saying?
Well, the price
We sell the fuel for winter.
I don't think they will lock in a price. They lock in that rack, or they lock in their margin. So,
It won't go.
fuel could go down,
Yeah.
fuel could go up. It could fluctuate, but that, their margin stays the same, what they're gonna charge us.
I have the sense to know you have no place to store.
Sorry. You were talking about locking in.
I was talking about
I got
locking in a price.
I got you. Fair
I'll
enough.
be more specific, so you understand.
All right.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Brammer?
Yes.
Commissioner Cartwell?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
Commissioner McKay?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Cottrell?
I don't think she can hear you.
Item 13, resolution authorizing trust participation agreement with KLICIS number 23-34.
Resolution authorizing trust participation agreement for General Insurance Trust and Mason County Joint Planning Commission. Be it resolved by the City of Maysville, Kentucky, that the mayor is hereby authorized and directed to execute the trust participation agreement for the Kentucky League of Cities Insurance Services General Insurance Trust, and also to execute the underwriting renewal survey/application from Kentucky League of Cities Insurance Services on behalf of the Mason County Joint Planning Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Brammer?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Cartwell?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
Commissioner McKay?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Cottrell?
Yes, ma'am.
Item 14, ordinance setting annual budget for fiscal year 2024, first reading, 23-08.
Before I have Kelly read this, do you want him to read it? Are you guys ready for a first reading of the budget? Okay, you're
I
good?
have a small concern.
Okay.
I know since I've been here, we've always approved a budget with a surplus, but we always came in under budget or at budget. But after that last meeting, I just had some concerns that we're taking nearly $2 million of surplus out of the budget, and you even had some concerns.
Well, we're taking that that's basically a transfer to the utility department to cover all of these projects that we've got to do. Now, again, you're looking at a proposed deficit of $1.3 million. Last year, I don't have my book from last year, it was higher than that. And we came in, I think, at a deficit of 400. So we were right there at it. Make sense? You all good with the first reading?
We're gonna do the projects, Mark?
We're gonna do them as fast as we can.
Okay.
All right, Kelly.
All right, everybody.
Everybody sit back and enjoy.
An ordinance adopting the City of Maysville, Kentucky annual budget for fiscal year 1 July 2023 through 30 June 2024 by establishing revenues and resources and appropriating funds for the operation of city government. Whereas an annual budget proposal and message has been prepared and delivered to the Board of Commissioners by a city manager pursuant to KRS 91A.030 and Code of Ordinances Section 131.01. And whereas the Board of Commissioners has reviewed such budget proposal and made necessary modifications, now therefore be it ordained by the City of Maysville, Kentucky as follows. 1, the annual budget for the city's fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024, summarized by resources, revenues, and appropriations as follows, is hereby adopted. This is under general fund. Resources available, fund balances carried forward, $16 million. Estimated revenues, property taxes, $1,280,000. Licenses and permits, $10,122,000. Intergovernmental revenues, $895,500. Other revenue, $2,141,262. Total estimated revenues, $14,438,762. Total resources available for appropriations, $30,438,762. Appropriations, general government, $4,849,198. Police, $3,120,500. Fire, $3,386,500. Public Works and Streets, $2,924,000. Other, $281,000. Parks and Recreation, $61,000. Contingency, $13,607,594. Capital expenditures, $2,208,970. Total appropriations, $30,438,762. Under local government economic fund, resources available, fund balances carried forward, $30,000. Intergovernmental revenues, $35,000. Total estimated revenues, $35,000. Total resources available for appropriations, $65,000. Appropriations, police, $10,000. Fire, $10,000. Public Works and Streets, $10,000. Contingency, $35,000. Total appropriations, $65,000. Under municipal road aid program, resources available, fund balances carried forward, $0. Intergovernmental revenues, $189,636. Total estimated revenues, $189,636. Total resources available for appropriations, $189,636. Appropriations, Public Works and Streets, $189,636. Total appropriations, $189,636. Under the utility fund column, resources available, fund balances carried forward, $600,000. Intergovernmental revenues, $3,000. Other revenue, $5,910,750. Total estimated revenues, $5,913,750. Total resources available for appropriations, $6,513,750. Utility, $5,945,500. Contingency, $568,250. Total appropriations, $6,513,750. That's it.
Great job, Kelly.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Brammer?
Yes.
Commissioner Cartwell?
Commissioner Reed?
Do
Did you
I?
have a question?
No.
Oh. Commissioner Wood,
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner McKay,
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Cottrell.
Yes, ma'am.
You. Item 15. I would let down too if I knew there was 15 items. Ordinance adopting salary schedule for classified city employees and non-elected officials beginning July 1, 2023, first reading.
An ordinance adopting salary schedule for classified city employees and non-elected officials for services rendered beginning July 1st, 2023. Summary. This ordinance adopts a salary schedule for regular city employees and non-elected officials by job classification for services rendered on and after July 1st, 2023 until amended.
Is there a motion?
I just have to read the summary there.
Yeah.
I'll make the motion.
Or a second?
I'll second it for discussion.
Okay.
What if we just kept last year's salary schedule? The spread.
I don't know that I can answer that because you have to look at the top number, and if somebody gets the top increase, if it puts them out of that, then they're not eligible for that increase. They would only be eligible to the top end. It's a spread that's required by statute. And anybody who gets an increase or doesn't get an increase has to fall within that spread.
I did get that.
And that spread is done by including that 5% for all of the upper ends. So that if there is somebody close to that upper end, they don't go over it and beyond it.
I get it.
They still have to fall within that scale.
So is all the evaluations done?
No.
So if we adopt this now, or the first reading, and it goes into second reading, and the evaluations aren't done, then this would take precedence over the evaluations, correct?
No, they're apples and oranges.
Okay.
They're apples and oranges. The evaluations,
It's
when
gonna determine
what their COLA raise would be, what their raise would be for the next fiscal year. That raise has to fall within that range that you're looking at for everybody.
If we adopt it.
If you adopt it, yes, correct, David. Correct. If you adopt it, that range, it has to. You can't go beyond that range, or we would have to amend the pay scale, which we've done in the past. But you all have to do that.
I didn't go through every one of them.
Yeah.
I went through several of them, several. And even if everyone was to receive a 5% increase.
It'd fall within.
I don't see anybody going over the maximum.
They won't, but you also have to keep into account. Let's say, and I'll just use Mark's department as an example. Let's say somebody at the wastewater treatment plant gets a 5%, and then they go and get their Class 3 wastewater treatment plant license. They deserve an increase for that. That's what that's for. Is if there is a qualifying event, a license, some kind of a certification, something like that somebody should get a merit bump for. That's what that allows for.
And you don't think they would stay within below the maximum, or stay within the maximum?
They have to. They have to stay within the
But
maximum.
even with the bump, you don't think they'd stay under the maximum?
I don't know. They have to. I mean, my answer would be they have to stay within. So let's say somebody gets let's say Vic, somebody gets a 5% raise and puts them within 2% of the top, and they go get that Class 3. That's the max you could give them as a merit. You couldn't give them any more than that because they would be right at that edge of that range. They can't go beyond that.
No, I appreciate you.
Yeah, oh
I
yeah,
appreciate
sure.
your argument.
Sure.
And like I said, I didn't go through everybody, but I went through just about everyone.
Yeah. I mean, you all set the raise amount. We conduct the evaluations, determine what an individual gets, with the exception of me, and that's determined obviously by you all. And it has to be within that range. You can't go outside of it. Make sense?
They could go to a higher classification though, right? If they.
They could change job classification, sure.
If they get additional certifications.
Let's use the chief here. You know, he's got PO, PO1, PO2, PO3. Somebody, if they've got their years in and he decides it's time for them to go to a PO3, then yes, they will change job classifications. Is that example fair?
But if that happens, we will be told that, correct?
He'll give he gives a memo to me
Anybody that changes.
that changes job classification. Not necessarily. I mean, if Mike's got an officer, let's say, who's been there, I don't know, what's your time frame from say going from a PO to a PO1?
PO1 is as you start PO1 when you get off
Probation.
So it's PO1 is 1 to 3 years.
Yeah, so he's going to automatically, when they get off probation, they're good. He's going to take them from a PO to a PO3. I sign off on it, and it has to be within that pay scale range. And a lot of times your job classifications are going to change with police, fire. Somebody might go and get their paramedic license, so they're going to go from an EMT to a paramedic, and that will change their classification. And that's what we want. We want folks doing that.
I just went down, that's all, I went down, sits at my kitchen table, gave everybody a 5% pay raise, even though some may not, and they all fell under the
Within.
So I was comfortable with just leaving the way it is, but that's just me.
And I mean, that's.
Well,
They'll still get a raise.
but yeah.
But you may
I'm
have.
sorry that
I'm sorry.
did
No,
the
you go
same
ahead.
thing. I'm sorry, I
You're
started
okay.
the same thing as Victor did, and everybody was under the maximum.
But do you have with their existing salary right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you gave it to us.
Yes.
But again, even if the top range is higher, let's say there's a $10,000 gap between the individual who gets that 5% raise and still have $10,000 to go before they can get out of that, unless there is a qualifying event. And again, it's a license. It's something that they would deserve, that we want them to go out and obtain. Their salary stays the same for the year. It's not going to change.
Do we ever just raise somebody up?
Just for
sake
what's and
of it?
giggles?
Yeah.
No. It's a qualifying, something that would qualify them to get that raise. A merit raise is what that would be. You've done something you've obtained something to warrant that raise. I want.
Aren't the operators 1, 2, 3, 4 make different money?
They do.
Okay.
And so you could go to a different classification, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor. Second. To adopt the.
There was a second for discussion.
Yeah. Commissioner Brammer made that.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Brammer,
Yes.
Commissioner Cartmel,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Wood,
Yes.
Commissioner McKay,
I'm going to have to vote no, it's nothing personal.
Mayor Cotterill.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, item 16, ordinance amending chapter 199 to eliminating breed-specific references, first reading, 23-10.
An ordinance amending Code of Ordinances, Section 199, registration and control of dangerous animals. Summary. This ordinance amends Code of Ordinances, Section 199, eliminating the breed-specific reference to pit bulldogs in Section 199.01 definitions. It deletes Section 199.09, specifically prohibiting pit bulldogs, and it deletes Section 199.10, subsection B, referring specifically to pit bulldogs in the enforcement section.
This is what we discussed at the last meeting, and all we're doing is taking out breed-specific language.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Brammer,
Yes.
Commissioner Cartmel,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Wood,
Yes.
Commissioner McKay,
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Cotterill.
We'll take a break.
She got it. She got it. Yeah, she said yes.
No, pause.
Oh, okay.
We're doing it on that.
No.
We gotta,
Would you like for me to repeat
No,
it?
no, we got you, Deb, but we're gonna take a pause just for a second until David comes back into the room. I'll let you know.
He took off running, he may not come back. It's been a long meeting.
Do we have a closed session? Do we still have a
Yeah,
closed
we
session?
do. We do, yeah.
You're doing a good job. Thank you.
thank you.
Let me remember to put those 7 and 8s on the second meeting, because that was.
Hey, man.
Yes, sir.
Just for some.
I'm always
Please. We're back, Mayor. Item 17, ordinance amending chapter 150, sewage connection charge, second reading, 23-05.
An ordinance amending chapter 150.65 sewage connection charge summary. This ordinance amends Code of Ordinances section 150.65 to change the sewage connection charge from $440 to $900.
Second reading, I need a motion, please.
Motion made.
Thank you, kid.
Does that cover everything?
David, you want to second it and then have
Oh,
discussion?
second.
Go ahead, sorry. Oh, you're good.
Does that cover all your costs?
That covers our cost, that is representative of the current market cost to connect to our sewer connection. What is the water? Yeah, sewage connection.
Sewage.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
No, we use, excuse me, if you want to get past.
Do you have any other questions?
They're in your way, excuse me.
Call roll, please.
Commissioner Brammer?
Yeah.
Commissioner Cartmel?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
Commissioner McKay?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Cottrell?
She Kings of Holland.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Alrighty. Item 18, ordinance amending chapter 150.63 water connection charge, second reading, 23-06.
An ordinance amending chapter 150.63 water connection charge summary. This ordinance amends Code of Ordinances section 150.63 subsection B to change the water connection charge from $900 to $1,200 for 1-inch service and from $1,500 to $2,000 for 2-inch service.
Need a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Second?
Second for discussion.
Okay.
So you pay $1,200 for 1-inch?
Yes, sir.
That's what it would go to, David.
3/4 and 1 inch.
Yeah.
And these are new connections only.
Okay,
New connections only.
all right. So can you do an apartment building or a duplex on a 2-inch line?
Depends on what size. How big of the apartment complex or whatever.
More units means a larger volume.
Okay. Do you have a price for a 3-inch line?
bigger than, it'd be what, did you say 2,000?
2,000 for the 2-inch.
So up 2-inch and up, it's 2,000. That's.
Oh, so 2-inch and up. All right.
Yeah, I believe that's the way.
Yeah,
it's
that
structured.
is David. Yes, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how it's listed.
Okay, all right.
Good question.
Thank you.
Call roll, please.
Commissioner Brammer?
Yes.
Commissioner Cartmel?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
Commissioner McKay?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Cottrell?
Yes, ma'am.
I only ask that because we're getting a lot of development up around Washington. A lot of multi.
I understand, and we want that.
Yeah. Okay.
That doesn't include fire protection. No fire protection.
Okay, Item 19, ordinance amending street sweeper schedule, second reading, 23-07.
An ordinance amending Code of Ordinances, Chapter 257, summary. This ordinance amends Code of Ordinances, Chapter 257, Schedule 3, street sweeping schedule to update the schedule in conformity with the schedule maintained by the Maysville Police Department.
I need a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Brammer?
Yes.
Commissioner Cartmel?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
Commissioner McKay?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Cottrell?
Yes, ma'am.
Item 20, closed session pursuant to KRS 61-810-1, discussion of proposed pending litigation against on behalf of the public agency, and F, discussion which might lead to the appointment, discipline, or dismissal of an individual employee. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for sitting in. Get back here, Dave. Need a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Brammer?
Yes.
Commissioner Cartmel?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
Commissioner McKay?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Cottrell?
Yes.
Let me start.
Okay, I need a motion to go back into regular session.
So moved.
Second?
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Brammer?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Cartmel?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
Commissioner McKay?
Yes, ma'am.
Is Deborah with us?
Yes, she's right there.
Mayor Cottrell? I didn't see her.
Yeah, she did, she said.
I'll now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Commissioner Brammer?
Yes.
Commissioner Cartmel? Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
Commissioner McKay?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Cottrell?
Thank you all, appreciate your time this evening.
Already.
Thanks, Kelly.
See y'all later.
All right, buddy.